and we're going to start with industry. And our first speaker is David Drinkward, and we're pulling up his slides here. Let me give you a little bit of background about David. He is the president and CEO of Hoffman Construction Company and a member of the board of directors. As CEO, Dave is responsible for shaping Hoffman's strategic vision and overseeing the execution of all of its operations. And again, David has a long bio here, and maybe I can just invite him up. He is involved, I should say, he's involved in many things and giving. And that's part of what we think about in safety. And I'll mention some things here. Director of Meals on Wheels People, ACE Mentor Program of America, Oregon Business Council, and involved with Constructing Hope, which I don't know about, but it sounds wonderful. So, David, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. It's great to be in Corvallis always. I'm not a Beaver, but I have the privilege of working with a lot of Beavers, a lot of folks that graduated from the programs here, so it's wonderful to be a part of this and be here with you today. I thought just to kick things off, for those who haven't had enough caffeine this morning, start with a video here just to introduce Hoffman a little bit and what we're about. Hopefully this plays.
This is what you're waiting for. I think we're ready to rock.
So as you can see, we're known for the big, fast, and scary projects out there. Everything from advanced manufacturing facilities that cost billions of dollars each, to the Portland airport, to, of course, we got to blow up Research Stadium across the street there and put it back for all of you. So a lot of really fun things that we're involved in. We're based in Portland, just up the road here, but we do work across the country and sometimes around the world. We've grown a lot. We do a little over $5 billion a year in revenue now, the last couple of years. We focus a lot on our people. That's a key differentiator for us. We have over 15 years average tenure for our employees, and we're 100% active employee owned. And we're owned in a different way than most companies who say they're employee owned. We have a broad-based employee ownership. About 175 of our folks are owners of the company. The vast majority of the ownership sits with the superintendents, project managers, senior engineers, the folks that are actually out there in the field building every day. Those are the folks that own our company. So those are the folks that I work for, which makes our whole approach a little bit different and a little bit more people-centered, which is sort of the whole idea with us. So we're here to talk today about safety culture. I apologize. I like to move around a lot, so if I wander away from the mic, just sort of scoot me back and let me know if you can't hear me. This mic seems to be working pretty well. But what I wanted to do is just kind of walk through our approach to safety culture, how we do it in our company, talk about some myth busting, a few myths that are out there that I'd like to address and hopefully dispel for you and give you some examples from the real world about how we go about our work and fight those myths, and then give you some ideas about how you can either as a student engage from day one in our industry when you come out into the world of work, or if you're an educator, you can hopefully take some of these ideas and incorporate them into your classrooms. So it starts with what we call our whole life safety approach, which I have to give full credit to Billy Afghan, who is sitting right up here. She helped our company actually work through this and develop this model, so I got to give her credit since she's sitting right here. But it starts with that physical safety piece up in the upper left-hand corner, which is really what we traditionally associate with safety in construction, right? It's all the things like proper PPE and tying off when you're working at heights and separating people and equipment and all those things that are hugely important. And as we heard, we lose 1,000 people a year, right, on average to all types of incidents. And it's a huge focus and continues to be. But that's kind of the basics. That's the starting point. What we like to do is take a more holistic view. we like to look at everyone who comes on our job sites as a whole person. So we also focus on the health and well-being of people, and a specific focus on mental health. Ed, I very much appreciate it. You could not have teed me up better. Thank you. I'll buy you lunch later. That's great. We'll get into mental health here in a minute. And then the last one up there is psychological safety, which is sometimes people get surprised to hear a construction company talking about psychological safety. For those who don't know what that is, what that means is we're creating an environment where people feel free to speak up and voice dissent without fear of repercussions. So everybody feels free to speak up when they see something, they can say something, regardless of where they fall in the pecking order or crossing disciplines, doesn't matter. We want everybody to speak up. My favorite recent example of this is we have a new hire day every year in each of our regions where we bring all the new hires together and we do a dog and pony all day, and I get to do a little talk with them. And so we had one a couple years ago in Arizona in our office there, and we sent out the invites. Unbeknownst to me, they went out under my name via email. And so I get this email from one of our brand new project engineers, a young woman working down there in Phoenix. I didn't know her, never met her in my life. And she sends me this email and she says, Dave, I just want you to know, I think you made a big mistake. I heard that this invitation went out and I wasn't included on it, and I'd like an invitation to New Hire Day, please. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? I've got this young woman that I don't know. She's in Phoenix. She's emailing the CEO of the company in Portland, who she's never met, and telling me that I made a mistake. And she's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. So first of all, I, of course, apologized and thanked her and got her invitation. But then I thanked our team down there too, because clearly we've created an environment down there where she felt comfortable actually speaking up. I don't know if she was comfortable. She was comfortable enough to do it, right, to actually email me and say, hey, you screwed up. And she was right. So that's what we mean when we're talking about psychological safety. And we want that to play out not only in our offices, but on our job sites as well. So it doesn't matter if you're an electrician and you see something going on with a mechanical contractor. We want you to reach across disciplines and say something when you see something. So I'd like to touch on that one because it's kind of one that surprises people. These are our core beliefs. We heard earlier, beliefs drive behaviors, right? Culture is defined on the shared beliefs that we hold, and then that shapes our actions and how we go about our work. So we could spend literally all day talking about these, debating these, wrestling with these, but I'll hit a few. First, people come first. That is absolutely the most important thing. It is number one for a reason, and that's not just a saying. That is something that we very much believe deeply. We try and live that every day. We recognize that these are people that come onto our job sites, and they deserve every opportunity to work in a safe environment. The second one that I'll just highlight really quickly is that people are the solution, number 4. And what we mean by that is that the people who are closest to the work are the experts. They're the ones that we should listen to the most. Too often in our industry, we get these top-down solutions that are driven from folks like me out in the field, and that's just not the right approach. The best ideas come from people who are closest to the work. So keep those in mind as we go through these. I should also highlight number 7 there, focus on high-risk activities. That is absolutely geared towards the dispelling the myth of Heinrich's triangle there and all the things that Ed talked about. He's absolutely right. And so that's why we choose to focus on the highest risk activities to make sure that we are preventing serious injuries and fatalities. So, some myth busting. Myth number 1, that you can't put people first in this industry. When I first came into this industry decades ago, this was viewed and talked about as an industry where people came to abuse their bodies and minds for as long as they could tolerate it and then retire at some point, hopefully before they broke down completely. And that's just not the case today. It shouldn't be the case. This is an industry where we can actually take care of each other, we can look out for each other, and we have a tremendous opportunity to impact not only the lives of the people that work for us, but the people who use the spaces that we create for good. And of course, we work in a high consequence area where bad things can happen, and we have the opportunity, if we don't do things right, to have hugely negative consequences. So that's myth number 1. Myth number 2 there is that safety, quality, costs, and schedule are these competing priorities that can't all be satisfied at once. And when I came into this industry, that oftentimes I'd hear things like, well, you can have it fast or you can have it safe, but you can't have both. Or you can have it fast and you can have it cheap, but you can't have both, right? And that's just not true. It's absolutely not true. If we start with the mindset that we are going to build it safely, we can come up with solutions to also deliver it faster, cheaper, and at higher quality. And I'll show you some examples of how we're putting that into action today. All right. So again, I could not have been teed up better for this conversation. We talk a lot about physical safety. As was mentioned, we lose 1,000 people a year to all job site incidents combined. We lose 5,000 a year to suicide. This was brought home to me several years ago, 2019. I had just taken over about a year before as CEO, and I got the call that nobody wants to get, where we lost an employee. Happened to be the brother of my right hand, my chief operating officer, executive vice president. His brother was working as a field superintendent for us at the Washington Park project in Portland, and he had taken his own life that morning. So I went down to the job site and had the team gather up and had to tell them what had happened and why Chris wasn't coming in that day. And it was a hugely impactful moment for me. Spent about an hour just laughing and crying, talking about him. And what struck me was every single person in that room, there were about a half dozen people, every single one had somebody else that was close to them that they had lost to suicide. So it hit me. We had this huge, huge problem, and we can do something about it. So we decided we were going to be tough enough to talk. We were going to turn that image of the tough guy on its head, and we're going to say, no, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about our problems. We're going to normalize the conversation around mental health, and we're going to dig into it. So what we've done since then, and a few things that I think you could probably take away and maybe bring back to your classrooms or into industry, we started opening these GUTS rooms. GUTS is our safety slogan. Get us there safe is what it stands for. The one on the left there happens to be the state capitol building in Salem. These rooms are dedicated spaces. They are designed for the craft workers, by the craft workers. They are rooms painted by craft workers. All the materials are donated, and what it is a space where people can come together on the job site and they can have real conversations with each other in the way that people normally interact, whether that's over a game of foosball or watching a game on TV, having a snack, whatever it is. And we found them, all of a sudden they're in heavy, heavy use on all of our job sites now. And they're being used in very surprising ways. Like all of a sudden we have 12-step program meetings being held in these rooms. We have veterans support group meetings being held in these rooms. And in many of them, like this one, there's a space in the back there. You can see that's a private space where people can take a telehealth call with a counselor or therapist. Think about the barriers for people in construction. It's very difficult to leave a job site, drive across town, go see a therapist. Oftentimes can't do it. So we create the space on the job site that's dedicated for that. Been very, very successful and now rolling out across the country. We also very quickly realized once we normalized the conversation that people wanted to talk about this. It's very, very real. And so we started giving people the resources to be able to have these conversations, the training. So there's several of them out there, a couple examples, mental health first aid, QPR, that stands for question, persuade, refer. University of Washington has developed Forefront as a program. We use all of them in various ways and encourage all of you to take these courses if you haven't, and encourage your students to do the same. Hugely impactful, not intuitive stuff. If you have these conversations with people, it is very different than what you might imagine, and what you should say is very different than what you might think you should say. You have to be very direct. So I would highly encourage everybody to take advantage of those resources that are out there. We've also partnered with Lines for Life, which is a nonprofit in Portland that developed the national backup for 988. They support the youth line, very involved in suicide prevention. So we partnered with them to create the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership. We recently helped endow the National Construction Care Line, which is a line that is open. It's a phone number you can call. Anyone in the construction industry can call it anytime and get the support that they need. Construction industry specific, modeled kind of off of the veteran support line that they also operate out of that facility. So really amazing resource. We put toolbox talks together, so you're all familiar with that probably. People gather in the morning on the job site. There's these topic sheets that they can use to guide those conversations. And then we put together these sheets on the right there that are the lists of EAPs and support lines that are available regionally. So if you're on one of our job sites, you can just walk up to a poster, scan that QR code, and get links to the EAP or other resources that are available to the folks on that job site. So really cool, kind of just very simple ideas to help address mental health in construction. Before I go on, I just wanted to point out too, none of these were my idea. These were all solutions that set the direction, said this is important. The people closest to the work, the people that are out there in the field every day, they came up with these ideas. And yeah, we supported them, but I didn't come up with any of this. And it's amazing how they've run with it, and they continue to come up with new ideas every day. So encourage your folks to talk and come up with these ideas. All right, switching gears. Myth number 2, competing resources idea. So this is again the idea that you can't have something fast and safe or fast and cheap. It's absolutely not true. So I'm going to give you a real world example. We built the Space Needle in Seattle, rebuilt it, I should say, a few years back. The original one was built, of course, back in the day for the World Fair. And the challenge with this, and then they came to me, I was the general counsel and risk manager at the time. This was several years ago. And I said, hey, we're gonna rebuild the whole top of the Space Needle, and it's 500 feet in the air, and it's gonna be open the whole time. There's hundreds of thousands of people that come through this space every year. And by the way, it's above a world-class glass factory and a huge public space underneath it. And it'll be great. We'll use drones or something. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll figure it out. And so traditionally, right, you would say, okay, how do we do this safely? We gotta like shut this thing down, close it off, and do our work, and then get out of there, right? Well, that wasn't an option. So we had to figure out a way to execute this work and to do it safely while the building was in operation, while you had the traveling public moving through the space. So what we came up with was this platform that was suspended from the bottom of the top part of the structure there. I'll show you a little video. This is it being raised into place. And what happened was, once it was up in place, you can see on the picture on the right there, it was suspended below the structure. We put the curtain up where it says we're open. Inside that space, we created an enclosed area where people could safely work below that top portion of the structure, get the work done in phases, and it was everything from the restaurant to the turntable that actually makes the thing spin around, all of that, and we kept the facility open the whole time we were doing it. So, and it was done safely. So, again, we were able to come up with a way to keep people safe, deliver it faster, cheaper, and higher quality than it would have been if we had shut the facility down. Another one of my favorite examples, if you've flown through PDX recently, you've probably seen the new terminal. If you haven't seen it, we put 9 acres of roof in place above the main terminal, did a complete structural overhaul on the main terminal there. And a similar challenge, right? How do you do that kind of work in an operating airport? Obviously, the airport wasn't wild about the idea of us shutting it down for 3 years and then coming in and doing our work and then reopening it. Right? That doesn't work. So the challenge was, how do we do this safely with people moving all around inside of it all the time and get this work done? So what we came up with was we're going to build it in sections at the end of the runway on the ground. So if you fly out of PDX today, there are still 3 sections out at the end of the runway. We have 3 more to go to put in place. We built them on the ground, keep people away from fall hazards, where they could get close to the work without actually exposing themselves. we put these things together in their entirety, all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the wood, obviously, fire protection, everything was put inside of these modules. There are 16 of them, and then we put them on these mobile cranes and moved them down the runway and slid them into place like drawers into a dresser on top of the airport. That weighs about 1.5 million pounds. That was just done last week, actually. Maybe it was the week before, but very recently, that was going down the runway there at PDX. So the moral of the story is we're able to, well, knock on some wood for me. We're not quite there yet, but so far we've been able to do this work without an unscheduled operational impact to the airport and without any serious injuries or fatalities, and been able to build this roof and put it in place. And it's beautiful if you haven't had the chance to see it. All right, so where to start with all this? First of all, I think, again, you can put people first. You should and can instill in your students the idea that we are all actually here to make an impact on other human beings. That's at the end of the day what is most important, and we can put people first in this industry. We can care about each other. We can put these programs in place to make it better. We can look for the better way. You don't have to accept that things have to be slow in order to be safe, or cheap in order to be safe, or more expensive in order to be safe. We can do it all. And then lastly, I'd encourage your students to speak up. Again, all these solutions come from them. Students today have access to technology and innovation at a level that I can't even begin to imagine. When you think about the 35-ish year arc of their careers that they have ahead of them, the way that we build and what we build is going to be very, very different, and we need them to be bringing their solutions from day one, and we need to be creating the environments where they feel comfortable speaking up and offering those solutions to us. So, I think we have time for questions. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Chen Hoko from the University of Kansas. I'm professor of civil engineering and director of the National Center for Construction Safety. I was impressed by the psychological effort you put on your workers, and I wonder how often your workers access to those helps. And the second question is, have you measured the differences between before the program and after the program? And we emphasize that safety, not only safety, safety also improve constructability and delivery, so on and so forth. And do you have any data to support those ideas? Thank you.
Yeah, so we get this question a lot, right? How do you measure the ROI or the impact of these programs? It's very difficult to gather specific data on, like you're proving a negative, right? How many people didn't take an action because of the program that we put in place? We'll probably never know. We do gather some basic data on the utilization of their guts rooms, for example. How often are they being used? What types of things are they being used for? But we're also very mindful of the fact that this is a space that can be difficult for people to access. So we don't want to make it appear like we're counting them or like we're tracking who they are. We want to be very respectful of privacy. So we've been intentionally very subtle about the way that we look at that. So most of the data that we have is anecdotal, but I can tell you every time I go to a job site, I hear about it. I've heard at least 10, probably closer to 12 now, people come and tell me that personally that we saved their life. I can guarantee you, talking to a room this big, there's somebody out there struggling. Somebody out there. And so when we have the opportunity to take these interventions, one is enough for me. And so hearing those stories, it's just, it validates the effort. So it's, to me, it's about the impact on just even one person is enough. there are some other things we can track, like the number of people we put through the QPR trainings or forefront trainings. It's in the thousands, and so then you start to get this exponential impact. Again, I can't tell you how many people we've touched, but it's a lot.
Test. Test. I got it now. Excellent presentation. I'm glad I teed you up, in that. And we've heard the same thing in a lot of our other symposia. I was really interested in your, 2 case studies, with rebuilding the Space Needle and also the Portland Airport. And I know Dallas did something very similar to that, where they modularized an entire terminal off. Mm-hmm. And so, it does take away some of the exposure to our workers. So my question really was, how did you come up with those schemes, right? I mean, was that, my experience, and you said it earlier, it wasn't my idea, it was somebody else's idea. So did you get were your craft folk involved in it? Obviously the engineers and designers were involved in it. So can you kind of talk a little bit about, because earlier is better, right? So I'll just let you go there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key point. So you're absolutely right. It was neither of those were my idea either, right? First of all, so in fact, especially with the Space Needle early on, to be honest, I was like, guys, this is nuts, right? And they were literally talking about using drones to fly parts and pieces up there. It was like, wow, what are we doing? But it really is a collaborative effort between, as you said, it's the engineers, it's the designers, it's our folks, and it is a lot of our folks, our superintendents and engineers are from craft, right? That we hire from the craft a lot, and so we bring those people in that have been actually holding the tools and asking them to help us come up with these ideas. I'll give you one small example. We have a superintendent who was a carpenter for many, many years. He worked on the Space Needle project. And one of the specific challenges we had there was hoisting, right? We couldn't have a crane, right? So how do you get we had to put all these pieces of glass up around, it's beautiful now, it's all open, plexiglass, very scary if you're afraid of heights. But we had to get all these pieces of glass up to the Space Needle. How do you do that? Well, he leveraging his expertise as a carpenter, and he's been in construction for 50 years now. So he was around back in the days when they didn't have as many tower cranes, had to be experts in hoisting. He literally engineered a gantry crane to hoist the glass panels up from the ground up to the top of the Space Needle. Completely, on his own. We had it engineered and stuff, obviously, but that idea came from him. And so bringing together those people that do have that hands-on expertise together with all of the PhD level engineers and designers, it takes everybody coming together to create those solutions.
So first of all, again, thanks. Pretty amazing stories to hear, right? And so I'm Stephen Walter with McKinstry, and one of the things that I'm extraordinarily proud to see is leaders like you who stand up and actually voice the power of what it means to be safe. What do you consider to be, as the leader of the organization, what do you consider to be the top behavior that you either use or do to keep setting the stage and driving the culture?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say there's a humility that's necessary. I think, in order to genuinely care and genuinely put people first, you have to sort of accept that you can't control everything and you don't have all the answers. And, being comfortable kind of admitting that and opening it up to everybody's better ideas is really important, and it's not common enough anyway. And so I think it's really important for us as leaders to, first of all, obviously you have to genuinely care. You can't fake it, right? And then to be humble enough to accept that you don't have all the answers. answers, and that you should listen to everyone around you who are the experts and bring those ideas forward. And then, of course, you got to support them when they do that.
I think we are about, oh, one last question, yes.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Actually, we are on a partnership with Hoffman. I'm the EHS director for Skanska and was actually out at the airport for about 5 years, and also a part of the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership with Line for Life. So I actually had a couple of things I could actually add to some of the questions there that I thought I might just go ahead and answer there. So one of the questions was on the tracking for the Guts trailer, Lines for Life. But one of the parts for the partnership with Lines for Life that is fairly recent is the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership. With Lines for Life, they helped get that construction line together on their website. One of the things that Lines for Life is actually going to be bringing back to us is some trending data to see what kind of calls they're receiving. So if they're finding that people are struggling with long work days, and that tends to be a trend, they are starting to gather that data, obviously not sharing any information about the individuals themselves, but they are starting to track that data and get that back to us. So we don't have that data yet, but it is coming. The other part for the, actually using the SPMTs and false work for the roof over there for the airport, one of the decisions that we found from that is they worked very closely with the Port of Portland to make sure that they could work with the schedule and what that would do as far as impact. And they also worked with the crane companies to see the cost impact of what it would be for these SPMTs versus actually pulling out multiple cranes and shutting down portions of the airport. It did make it a lot safer because we didn't have people working up at height. We didn't have as many dropped object hazards. There were a lot of benefits there. But that's some of the decision-making process that I was made aware of while I was there. Yeah.
Great to have Skanska, fantastic partners, by the way. With JV, JV'd on that airport, super supportive of everything we're doing and doing great work too. So thank you for being here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.